Ohio State fans woke up to some great news. Yeah, I know they went to bed with a win, but they woke up with a massive commitment on the recruiting trail. That's what we're going to break down in this video. But before we do that, Ohio State fans, hit subscribe. These are exciting times. We are less than 2 weeks from signing day, and things are starting to get crazy. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the Rivals Recruits channel. All right, let's bring in Mick Walker from Letterman Row. And on the field, the Buckeyes dominated in every phase against UCLA. They keep it rolling on the field. And then this morning, elite edge Dre Quinn, a one-time Clemson commitment. He backed off that about 2 months ago. Committed the Ohio State Buckeyes this morning. How did it all go down, Mick?
Yeah, you and I were talking before the show. I think there was some confidence after that first visit when he came up for an unofficial in October for the Minnesota game that maybe we could get this one done. He had just kind of decommitted. I think there was a lot of the relationship stuff with Larry Johnson. He was going to mesh well. The program fit. I mean, after all, he was committed to Clemson. I know the fall of Clemson's program is a little bit different, but culture-wise, they're kind of similar in that aspect. They're both kind of real faith-based programs that are more of a genuine, and they're not trying to push guys out. They're trying to build prospects and kind of develop them. And I think once Dre got on campus and saw that, he realized he meshed really well with Larry Johnson, the program. And then you get him up on campus and for twice, and he gets to be around some of the other commits, meet Kenyatta Jackson, meet CJ Hicks, and some of these other defensive ends that are there that he would get along with. And I think it all just kind of coincided with him deciding that he wanted to kind of fill the last need in this class. Obviously, Ohio State has Kari Wilder, the five-star Rivals edge, committed, but you needed another edge to pair with him with some of the guys you're losing, and Dre Quinn fills that need pretty perfectly, honestly.
Yeah, and in all honesty, the rich just get richer with this one because, yes, they needed another edge, but this class is already pretty loaded, and now they add Dre Quinn. Like you said, great kid. He committed with us the original time to Clemson. Pleasure to deal with him, his father, his whole crew. It was great. The moment he committed, he brought his little niece on, and his niece, and she had on a Clemson hat. And that's the way that he announced his commitment. Very low key, straight to the point. So he joins this commit list. But it was an opportunity this weekend to get a lot of guys on campus. Maybe, there's not many visit weekends left in the season. So who were some of the headliners in Columbus this weekend?
Yeah, besides Dre Quinn, who was on an official visit, there were three other official visitors. Florida cornerback commit CJ Brona, and then Wake Forest linebacker commit Braxton Rember. The two that are most notable, Darius McKinley, the LSU defensive line commit, was also there. But those first two are really the ones that it seems like Ohio State's made a lot of ground with. I believe Steve Wilfong's already put in Rivals prediction machine picks for Ohio State to flip those two. And again, it is kind of a rich get richer situation because Ohio State has already flipped Jay Timmons this month. They have two cornerbacks they really like, but if CJ Brona is on the market essentially when he's chopping around after with all the stuff going on in Florida, and you can get in there and you feel like you can get another third player to restock this cornerback room, you do it. And the same thing with Braxton Rember. The success of Arvell Reese this season, seeing that, hey, these 6'5" athletic linebackers, you can kind of use them as chess pieces if they develop. So why don't we go find another one? And that's what James Laurinaitis found in Rember. So those were the two 2026 headliners. And again, Ohio State's up to 26 commits in this class. They have offers out to those two, and it feels like they're good with both. They offered Louisville tight end commit Nick Lauder on Saturday night. He kind of popped up as a last-minute addition, the in-state kid, and it feels like they're doing really well with him. The other guys in 2027, they got a commitment from Eli Johnson, who's a top 100 safety on Saturday. Brock Williams, who's one of the top Rivals tight ends in the 2027 class, he was essentially glued at the hip with quarterback commit Brady Edmonds throughout the whole visit. And then there's other offensive line targets like Brody McNeil, who I think Ohio State's really started to pick up some momentum with from Virginia. Dewey Young's a guy from Michigan, from Kalamazoo, that has not been offered by Michigan, but now he's visited Ohio State twice. He also saw them on the road when they were at Purdue, so now he's seen Ohio State 3 times. And I think Ohio State really likes A.J. Randall or Ronson Randall from North Carolina, the linebacker. He's kind of a freak athlete, and they'd love to go down to North Carolina and get him and Quentin Cipher in the 2027 class who visited for the Penn State game. So those are some of the headliners in the 2027 class. And then there's even more names in the 2028 class. And Ohio State's a big fan of George Parkinson, the edge from Malvern Prep in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and Ohio State recruiting is just going crazy. I feel like there's a handful of teams right now that are just piling on to their embarrassment of riches. Ohio State's one of them. I feel like Texas A&M, USC, maybe even Miami. I don't think Texas really down the stretch is in exactly that position, but Ohio State is certainly there. So talk about moving forward.
Yeah, if I can interrupt.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing. And Ryan Day was asked about this last week, that the whole one transfer portal rule coming in where you don't have a spring portal where you can kind of reload the roster.
Right.
Ohio State's kind of taking this approach of, hey, we wanted 25-ish, but if we can get 5 extra guys to reload this roster, that's where you go get a third corner, you get 4 defensive tackles, you get a third or fourth linebacker, and kind of just see how these rosters kind of fall. And Ohio State is one of those programs where if we're going to get a guy out of high school and develop him, it's probably a better shot he works out than just going to get a backup or a guy that was a former starter at a lower level of a transfer. So I think that's kind of been their approach of why you put the foot on the gas of recruiting down the stretch.
Yeah, and you can feel it. So speaking of, you mentioned that besides Dre Quinn, there was those 2 other flip targets on campus, linebacker and a corner. Does Ohio State have room for both? Do you feel like they're going to flip both? And then after that, what remains, if anything? Inside Scoop listeners, let's talk game time. The NFL season is underway. College football, it's almost over. And who doesn't love to see their favorite team live and in person, especially when you can go with a bunch of your buddies. But, tickets aren't easy to find. And getting those deals on last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there for the moment your team runs out on the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences. It only takes a few simple clicks. The app's easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee, it means you can get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay, and you can even get in an NFL game as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code INSIDESCOOP. That's promo code INSIDESCOOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's Inside Scoop for $20 off Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Yeah, I do believe that they'll flip both C.J. Brana and Braxton Rimber coming out this weekend. I also think they'll flip Nick Lauder again. And Lauder and Rimber are both guys where you look at right now on the Rivals page, they're like lower 3 stars, like 1,000-ish, like 500, like in the 500 to 1,000 range. But I think Ohio State fans will be pretty happy with the rankings update from Rivals coming on Monday. And especially with those 2 guys, if they do end up in the class, I think we're going to see some upward momentum with not only the commits, but a couple of their flip targets in the class. So I think they would like to get those 3 guys, and that brings you up to 29-ish commits. And then maybe you look at they've got most of their top in-state offensive linemen committed. Like they got Mason Wilhelm from UNC. He's a legacy prospect last week. I don't think they really need anything on the offensive line, but I wouldn't be surprised if they keep looking. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Jaden Williams continues to kind of get checked in on the Indiana linebacker commit just to get a 4th. I mean, Ryan Day got to see him in person last week when Maslin played St. Francis de Sales, where his son RJ plays. So maybe that even kind of picks up the ignition of it a little bit. But other than that, I mean, they got a second running back. They got 5 wide receivers, 5 offensive linemen. They're probably going to get a tight end. They've got 6 defensive linemen now. They're going to have 3 linebackers, I assume, 3 corners, 3 safeties. I mean, it's a loaded high school class. So if you get those 3 that we've talked about, Lauder, Rimber, and Brona, I don't know where else you go other than maybe just trying to stash another random 6 offensive linemen to see how the lottery ticket that he could be.
I know where you go. You go and flip Luke Wafel from USC. That'll really put a cherry on top of the class. All right, Ohio State fans, talk to me and Mick about these last couple weeks. Who are your top targets? How do you feel about this class in general, and how are you feeling about Ohio State right now? Talk to us, comment section below.